They say the best things come to those who wait. That's a statement for here on the podcast and also for Juventus this past weekend. Uh, I'm Nicholas with Adriano, and then joined by us this week, Luca and Joe, our new best friends from All Juve Cast. How are you guys doing?
Ciao a tutti, belli e brutti. We're doing good. We're
Doing
doing good.
Long time
You
no
like
see.
that,
Long time
Luca?
no
Huh?
see.
You like that?
No, I was gonna say we're never letting you
have to- we're
introduce
gonna-
again. Like I'm
We
just
have
gonna
to
take
cut
the
that
reins next time.
out. We're gonna have to cut it out.
I thought that was like a catch line or something. I didn't realize this was the first time you did that.
This is
Because
not
that went smoothly.
Joe. This is not The Bachelor. Huh? This is the Calcio Guys on Wednesday night.
It's actually the first thing that Timothy Weah said when he signed for Juve.
That's
so
true. He
there's
did
that.
say the rule for
Okay.
some reason.
All right.
American legend Timothy Weah. But thank you guys for coming on. A week delayed. I think it comes at a good time that we get to talk about Juve. We got to watch the derby together, 1-1 against Inter. Nearly a week ago, 2-1. Late winner for Juve. Late winner against Monza. Gatti redeemed himself with that goal. And then this upcoming Friday, another big game against Napoli, which will be exciting. It almost feels like I wouldn't call it a trap game, guys, because Napoli is a good team, but where they are with the coaching situation, it could easily be like, oh yeah, we could easily beat them, but no, you never easily beat Napoli. We'll talk about that soon. But guys, did you guys survive on Friday? Like watching the Monza game? What was going through your mind? I don't know if Joe or Luca wants to start.
I'm afraid to let Joe start again because the last time you started, like it's.
Be my guest, Luca. Go ahead.
That game was a game of two halves. I mean, I was nodding off in the second one, and then the last 9 minutes, game like sparks to life. So it was a very emotional roller coaster to partake in. But on a Friday, it's asking a lot, Joe?
The Inter game, that was about what I expected. Those derbies always, they can go one of two ways. It's either a draw or it's like an absolute blowout. But this time it was a draw. I mean, all the action was in pretty much the first 35 minutes of the first half, and then we just sat back the rest of the game. So like whatever. I tuned out for a little bit of it, but I mean that's what Allegri ball does to you some of the time. So yeah, that was but it was fun to see everybody there. That was mostly why I was there to begin with. So
Yeah, exactly. Got to experience it at Trotaro's between me and Adriano. Usually if we go there, it's either for a Milan game or an Italy game. So it was nice to see an Inter Juve game. Just one of those games, like you said, Joe. First 35 minutes, after that, it was exciting. After that, it was seemed as if both teams were afraid. And, we kind of saw a bit of the same against Monza, but in a different way where Juve, got the goal early. They did press the rest of the first half. They had another chance. Gatti had a good chance. I forget if it was off a corner or a free kick. He just skied it right over the net. But then second half comes again. Typical Allegri defending, which, when it works, it works. Everyone's clapping. We get 3 points. But it didn't work. Nearly didn't work with the late Monza goal this time. And guys, when that happened, when I saw that, I was thinking, I think this is on everybody, not just players, but coaching staff. The subs that were made, they went all defensive that whole half. But even the players, there was just no offensive game plan at all. It would have been, everybody could point fingers at everybody else, but at the end of the day, it would have been accountable on the whole team. And then luckily, Rabiot decides to turn into a workhorse again. Goes down the right side with that goal, gets it right to Gatti, who actually missed the first attempt, puts it away on the second. He has a thing for scoring clutch goals, eh?
I mean, what, it's 4 now? I think I saw like people stack 4 together, but one of them, the goal against Torino, was not the second goal, or was it the first that he scored?
My memory doesn't serve me
It
that
was
well
it
there,
didn't
but
it didn't like resolve the game. Like this is obviously much bigger, and the two before that I believe were even bigger last year or something.
yeah,
There was one in the Europa League towards the
Yeah,
end of the game.
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, there
So
was. But
I mean,
you're having problems when you're relying on a center back to be putting goals away.
we're not gonna get into
But
that topic, but yeah, Joe, you're not wrong.
it,
Listen, he's got goal. Last year, how many goals did we rely on Bremer for? I mean, like, look how many goals he got in the
yeah,
season. That's the way Allegri likes to play. He likes towering center backs, and you know what? I mean, it's obviously working for him in certain aspects. So you know what? I'll give it.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just it. I think it just shows you the kind of. I don't want to put it all on Allegri, but I mean, it just kind of shows you where we're at in terms of the offense. It seems game in, game out, the team doesn't exactly know what to do in the final third of the pitch. But like you alluded to, Nick, it's just like the first half we had a pretty decent amount of chances, if I remember correctly. I think we had something like 6 or 8 big chances
Talking about Monza,
created,
right?
something like that. But we can't capitalize. It just seems like the forwards that we have, and I'm talking about Chiesa, I'm talking about Dusan, just can't seem to put those shots away, and here we are.
But what do you guys put that on? Like, I mean, those are two guys that you spent some good money on, two talents in this league, two quality players, and we know they can produce. With the black and white stripes, it seems to be a different story. So, what do you guys put that on? If you had to kind of put your finger on it, because I don't want to make it sound like there's always excuses with these two, or with your attack, but it's always something. So where you guys kind of lie and say like, well, this is probably the biggest factor as to why we're depending on a former bricklayer to score our goals, right? So where do you guys put to that topic?
You go first, Luca.
I'm not. First of all, let's not dish on bricklayers because Gatti's a
No,
unit, and
absolutely.
I would not want to insult that man. I
No
love him,
problem.
but
A lot of Italian bricklayers out there, so we
I was
respect
just
them
gonna
all.
say I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are bricklayers too. So let's not rub the wrong people the wrong way, right?
No.
I mean, it's kind of worms this topic, and you ask it properly because obviously you want to get into the nitty gritty of all Juventus fans right now. Like, why are the two most like effective and let's say expensive players on your roster, not providing what they're supposed to provide? Why did they? Why are they not anymore?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions there, and if you really want to get people going, especially Juve fans, that's the right question. My answer, I don't want to put it on the coach. I don't want to throw it directly on him. It doesn't help,
Okay.
but I think there's a lot more to it. I think our roster as a whole, specifically our midfield, like these guys don't get much in terms of support and in terms of just getting the ball to them, like in terms of what they're being fed. It's not much. A lot of it has to be done on their own, and then the final product, you only get 1 or 2 shots the entire game. I mean, these guys are still young. They probably miss both, and that's it. And they get raged on, and they got ripped apart for that. So I think there's more to it than just blaming the coach and the system. I think there's a lot more that's missing, and to me, it points mostly to the midfield.
Joe,
Well, I'm gonna blame the. No, I'm kidding.
Do it.
somebody has to.
Make Nick do it.
There is without a doubt that is part of the problem. I mean, you see Chiesa's being played out of position consistently. Dusan's left alone on an island. And like I said, the team doesn't know what to do in the final third of the pitch. And I think that a lot of that is because of the way we're set up, the 3-5-2. We've talked about it even with Al on the All Juve Cast. It seems like and I kind of like, I hate saying this, but it's also kind of true. We got rid of one of the guys who could have been playing up the middle in Dybala. Like then we subbed him for Di Maria, which didn't exactly work out. And now we don't have any movement through the middle of the pitch. Nobody creative, no one kind of like doing that. And it shows. So, like I said, I don't want to strictly put it on Allegri, but that all those things are true. All of those things that I just said are true. There's no dynamism up the middle of the pitch. We have nobody. Like, if you're going to play with two strikers, he's forcing Chiesa to play as like a support striker role in my eyes, which is not where he's good.
Agreed.
He's good on the left. So without someone who's sitting behind those two strikers, is providing support, there's no link between the midfield and the attack, like Luca's talking about. There's just it seems like defense to midfield is fine. It's midfield to attack where we're really running into problems.
So do you put also maybe management into that point, Joe? Like you said, you guys got rid of Dybala, and obviously he's still capable of doing things. We see him in Serie A, Roma. Do you kind of loop in management for letting him go in that conversation, or is that just a whole separate thing in your eyes?
Ooh, that's a very good question. That was
because and I don't want to cut you off, but even when you guys did have him, it was always the same story with Dybala. You guys didn't know where to play him. What was his position? Where was his role? Guys, we're sitting across the pond and we're kind of having answers to those questions here, and they couldn't see it over there across the pond. So, and it was as a not a neutral, but as an outsider, I'm not a fan of Juve, but just looking at that situation, it's pretty crazy that after all these years that he was with you guys, he did all amazing things with you. He won with you. He did whatever. At the end of it, there was still the conversation of where does Dybala play? Where's his position? Are we playing him on the wing? Are we playing him as a 10? Are we playing him as a second striker? Are we playing him as whatever? Like, there was always that discussion. And it, till this day, still puzzles me how that was remotely possible for how long you guys kept him on. But in this case, like Joe was saying, I would agree that he obviously would benefit greatly behind two strikers, let's say in this case, behind maybe a Vlahovic and a Chiesa, or whatever. If it's just one striker and he plays as a 10 behind, he's that fantasista type of player. So that's why I asked the question if you put management like in that in your the way you're answering the question, just because with that whole melee, upper management of Juve, one of the pieces that leaves is Paulo Dybala. So it's kind of why I asked the question.
That had to be one of the most like poorly handled contract negotiations that I've seen ever
In a while.
since I can remember watching the game. It's like, is it solely Juve management's fault? I don't know. I want to say no. Obviously it's not just their fault. If I remember correctly, Dybala's agent wasn't exactly doing him any favors. But it still stands. I mean, you see the record that he had with Juve. He wanted to stay at the club. I think it was just a matter of like a lot of things. It just came down to a matter of money, and the club didn't want to pay. And here we are. That was a very tumultuous time, if I remember everything. It seems like a million years ago, but it really wasn't. But the club was going through a lot of changes. We were Juve was going through another scandal. So like a lot of things going on at once. And it was probably just another byproduct of all of that together. I cannot say it enough. It was a poor management decision, but then again, there was a lot of poor management decisions going around. So it was just
Sure.
one more, right? So
Yeah, it was like you said. It feels like so long ago. I almost forget what the heck happened. You know, like I'm sorry guys, but Dybala is not a Juve player anymore, and not that I don't care about him, but
We're past
no,
it.
but he'd be good.
Yeah.
He'd be good. We could.
yeah, no, for
coulda
sure,
used
for sure,
him.
for
Right.
sure. Yeah, if he was on Juve, I'd probably love him and still be a fan of his. But we're at that
More
point
useful
now.
than
It's like,
Pogba.
yeah, yeah. This is what, 2 seasons? Yeah, second season in Rome. So it feels like a long time ago. But I think also an issue is we just generally speaking, like just the talent and squad depth is not there. It's not the same Juve as maybe 5-6 years ago, where you could have guys score from anywhere. You think back that 16-17 team, you had your wing backs contributing offensively. Alexandra was good offensively back then.
That's what
You know?
a while ago.
That was a while. Now that was a while
You know,
ago.
Dani Alves
Yeah.
was great on the
Yeah.
right side. Obviously, Higuain was amazing. Vlahovic is no Higuain. I think, even just having Vlahovic as a striker, I think he's a good player. But I've said it on this podcast many times. Mentally, he's very weak, I find. And when he's in a slump, he's in a slump. And you saw that even with the penalty against Monza. I know he just scored against Inter and he did 28 celebrations to try. He thought he was going to shut his haters up. Like, my guy, there's going to be haters all the time. Let them be. Just score goals. That's what you're paid all that money to do. And then he misses that. It was terrible penalty too against Monza. Misses the rebound when it's right there. It's like, come on, man. And then it's Rabiot to score off a corner. Like, if that's not an embodiment of this year's Juve, where Vlahovic can't score on 2 perfect opportunities and then we score on a corner from our midfielder, I don't know what is.
And then the
It
winner
was a
is our
really
center back.
nice corner, though.
It was beautiful.
It's a beautiful corner.
Joe, I know where you're going with this.
Nicolucci.
Luca was right. Luca was right. He knows exactly where I'm going with this.
Wow. Record it.
I will say, like you said, the 16-17 team, incredibly talented. All of those players could, score from anywhere, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, all winning cycles come to an end at some point. What I see the biggest difference is now is Juve's youth academy and how many players we have coming through the ranks. Like, good quality players. That is not something that I have ever been really used to seeing at Juve. It's always been the big names. We've had a couple of young, talented players on those teams in the past, but now I don't want to say we're relying on these young players, but they got some responsibilities in the team, like Miretti, Fagioli, if he was actually playing and not gambling. Who else? Hans, another one.
Hans is young. Gatti is young. Dujan is freaking young.
Is young. They're all young players. So
also 25, 26?
I think he might even be younger than that. I think he might be 24.
Who?
But it's not far off the mark.
Yeah.
The average age of the squad's not old. I think it's like 27, something like that.
And it's beautiful.
Cambiasso is going to be 24 in February.
There we go. So he's even younger.
There you go.
That's insane. So yeah, no. The comparison is very clear. Like where a team in a couple years back, where maybe one player from the youth, or not even from the youth, one young player would be incorporated in with all these veterans. That was the exception. Like you'd get maybe a Rugani coming in for a Copa game, or even when we brought in Dybala, he was a young player still. Like he wasn't 19, 21, he was still in his mid-20s, but that he was the young new player surrounded by stars. So, things have changed. Now you're looking at the base of it being young. There's still some veterans there, but They're not the stars that we used to have. So yeah, there's obviously a shift, and I mean, I'm happy to see it. I just don't think we're well equipped